These are the 7 mistakes that I made when I first started lifting. Mistakes that actually slowed my progress, wasted my time, and caused months and years of frustration. If I could go back in time and coach my beginner self, these are the 7 things that I would change immediately. And these aren't just random fitness tips that you typically hear online. These are also mistakes that my clients were making before we started working together, and I'm going to go through each one individually and show you exactly what to do instead. Mistake number 1 is being married to a specific rep number during your workouts. So this is what I mean by that. You go into the gym, you pull up your plan on your phone, or maybe you don't even have a physical plan. You're just going into the gym, going through the motions. You see a fitness influencer doing 10 reps of 100 pounds or whatever weight that may be. You're seeing 10 reps, right? 12 reps. So now you end up doing 10 reps of X amount of weight. And you keep hitting that same amount because you've just gotten so used to doing that, or maybe you've seen other people do that. But your brain has eventually become wired to hit that certain amount of reps when your body was physically capable of doing more. I know your program tells you 10 reps, or you see your favorite fitness influencer doing 10 reps, but if you're physically capable of doing more, why sell yourself short? So I wasn't stopping because my muscles were done. I was stopping because my workout told me to. Looking back, I probably had 3, 4, maybe even 5 reps left in the tank, and I was leaving progress on the table. Because listen, your muscles don't know what the number 10 is. They just know what tension is when you're working out hard and how challenging the weight is for you. If every set feels easy or manageable and you're automatically stopping at 10, you're not giving your muscles a good or strong enough reason to adapt, change, and grow. And this part is crucial because when your goal is to go through a body recomposition or overall just get that defined and toned look, you need a solid foundation of muscle underneath. What's going to help you build that muscle is strength training, lifting heavy weights, and actually challenging your body and pushing your limits, not just stopping at the number 10. So what are you going to do? We're going to divorce that number and we're going to expand our horizons. We're going to start dating around. So when you go into your workouts, instead of telling yourself, I'm going to hit 10 reps, start telling yourself, I'm going to push my body physically as hard as I can with good, clean form. I'm going to get close to failure as much as I can with clean technique. If you're noticing that your form is starting to compromise, or maybe you're using momentum to move the weight, then of course you do want to put the weight down and adjust, but more than likely your brain is going to tell you to stop before your body does. Now, here's a part that a lot of women miss. There's going to be certain times where you really need to get to true failure, and I'm talking about going until you physically cannot perform another clean rep. Now, the reason why this is important and why I try to have my clients implement this is because there's a concept of getting close to failure. Meaning you're getting close around 1 to 3 reps shy of true failure. If you've never gotten to true failure before, how do you know when you're close? Sure, there's different cues such as you making the ugly faces or you slowing down during your set, or it's starting to become super challenging for you to hold a conversation during a set. We can definitely factor those things in, but the feedback that you would get from actually getting to true failure would be way more valuable. So don't let the workout decide when you're finished. Let your muscles determine that. Now, the second mistake I made as a beginner was using cardio as a way to earn my calories. If I went out with my friends or went on a date night and I had pizza, wine, or dessert, for example, I would feel the need to hop back on the treadmill or the Stairmaster the next day to try to burn off what I just ate. Now, looking back, that's definitely one of the worst relationships that you can have with food and working out specifically, because then you start looking at food as a reward for your hard work in the gym, or maybe you just might start looking at cardio as a way to punish yourself for overeating on calories, for example. Yes, food is fuel and it's used as a way to give your body energy, to help your body recover, perform well in the gym. It's also used as a way to socially bond and connect with your friends, your family, or different cultures. So food isn't something that you need to earn, or cardio isn't something that you need to use to punish yourself. Instead of looking at cardio as a calorie burning tool, start looking at cardio as a way to improve the quality of your life and your longevity, and as a way to improve your cardiorespiratory fitness. Maybe your goal is to build healthier lungs and a healthier heart, or improve your VO2 max, or maybe even simply just getting up a flight of stairs without being completely gassed out and winded. Or maybe you're even training for your first 5K or your first half marathon. Like, all of these things are so exciting because it's going to allow you to get into this new way of training, and you know that there's going to be a greater reward at the end. And the reward that you get isn't typically temporary and short-lived, give the way the satisfaction of burning calories on the treadmill will be. When your reason for doing cardio is much more rewarding or is connected to you becoming a healthier version of yourself, you're more than likely to stick to it. But if your only reason for doing cardio is because I ate too many calories within the past couple of nights, then eventually you're going to resent cardio. So don't use running and don't use cardio as a way to erase yesterday's food choices. Instead, use it as a way to build a healthier and fitter you. And now the calories that you burn from running or doing cardio are just going to be the little extra cherry on top. So start changing your why behind doing certain things, and you'll notice that you'll be more likely to stay consistent and have a good enough reason for doing so. The third mistake I made as a rookie in the gym is going into the gym with no clear plan or just simply winging it. So I'd walk into the gym, I ask myself, what should I hit today? Should I do legs? Should I do upper body? Should I do full body? Maybe I'll just wander around for a little bit and see what kind of catches my eye. Or maybe I'll follow that other girl who has a banging body or has a body that I want and just go on the machines that she's using. The one thing that I had to learn is when you have to make so many decisions or having to make a decision under pressure, you're more than likely to make the easier, more convenient choice instead of the best choice. And 9 times out of 10, when you're winging it in the gym, you're more than likely to do the bare minimum and then just leave. And especially if you're going to the gym after work, maybe you just finished working a 12-hour shift, the last thing that your brain wants to do is having to make another decision. Versus if you go into the gym, having a system in place, having a plan in place, you know exactly what to execute on, and you really don't have to think much. You just have to let your body and your muscles do the work. Because when you get into the gym, your body and your muscles already have to do the work. Why are we adding our brain on top of that? If you're a high performer, or let's say you work a demanding job, you probably have to make so many decisions and choices during the day anyway. Don't add on your workouts on top of that too. And if we're being honest, the concept of progressive overloading, knowing what you did the previous session or the previous week, is always going to have to apply. If you're not getting into the gym with a clear system, how do you know how to properly progressive overload if you don't know what you previously did last session because you're just winging it? If you did hip thrust for 100 pounds, 10 reps last lower body day, now you know you want to do, let's say, 100 pounds and you want to push to 12 reps. But if you don't know what you previously did last session and you're winging it, you have nothing to build off of. Before you step foot into the gym, you should already know what workouts you're doing, how many sets you're doing for each workout, ideally how long you're also resting, or what weights and reps you did last session so you know exactly what to improve on. When you remove the guesswork, all that's left is execution. You can just walk into the gym, put your headphones on, whip out your phone, get in, get out. Discipline isn't about waking up motivated every day. It's about making fewer decisions because you've already made the hard decisions ahead of time. Now, diving into number 4, the fourth mistake that I made as a beginner in the gym was trying to copy my favorite fitness influencer's workout. I would see her doing a specific workout. I knew she had the body that I wanted. I would get into the gym and follow her exact routine and think, if I'm following this, then I should get these results, right? Wrong. That's not how fitness works. Fitness and nutrition isn't a one-size-fits-all. You could be following the same meal plan, the exact same workouts, down to a T of somebody else, and you can get completely different results from them. You're copying someone else's results without actually copying their own circumstances. We all don't have the same 24 hours in a day. Your favorite fitness influencer is a 21-year-old who doesn't have a 9-to-5, no kids, no husband, doesn't have any responsibilities, so they can spend 2+ hours in the gym. You have responsibilities. You're a mom. You work a full job. You have family. You have responsibilities. Therefore, your workouts need to look completely different. Your meals might need to look completely different, and your meal plan days or your meal prep days will also need to look completely different. Your workout plan and just the overall system that you have in place should actually complement and fit your life. Because you might be heading into the gym in between picking up your kids, and you're lucky if you even have 45 minutes to work out. The best workout for you isn't the one that you're going to follow from the person that has the body that you want. It's the one that you can stick to consistently without completely spinning your wheels, without going crazy and stressing yourself out. It's the one that you can also stick to 6 months or a year from now. Because you have to look at it like this. Maybe you have back pain, or maybe you have shoulder pain or knee pain, and the workout that you're following from your fitness influencer is going to aggravate it. Maybe you don't even have the mobility to fully squat the way that they do. So that's why your program needs to actually account for those things, not ignore them. And that's exactly what I do for my clients. I have to factor in their lifestyle, their fitness level, and simply just the workouts they just enjoy. Why? Because they're more than likely to show up when there's actual structure and intent behind the workouts, and it actually makes sense. And this is how they're able to get results like this. So if you feel like you're currently in a place where you want to make one-on-one coaching a reality for you so that you can build muscle in a way that's supportive of your goals so that you don't injure yourself and that you know exactly what to do every time you step foot into the gym or whether you're working on at home, I want you to click the first link down below in the description to book a one-on-one call with me just to see if I can help. Now, with mistake number 5 is using Google or even ChatGPT to replace the personalization with your workout plan. I'm going to piggyback on mistake number 4 because if you know that you shouldn't be following someone else's fitness program, you're then going to try to turn to Google or ChatGPT to see how to create things for you. I would Google things like, give me a workout plan to help me lose fat and build muscle, and I would follow it to a T. The problem with ChatGPT and AI is it only knows what you tell it, and it's only going to spit out what you pretty much give it. ChatGPT is not going to factor in that you just finished working a 12-hour shift and your knees are hurting and you're exhausted and your back is hurting while doing RDLs. It doesn't know the stress or the true struggle knowing that you only have 30 minutes to hit your workout before picking up your kids or before heading back to work. A workout isn't good because it's scientifically proven to work. It's good with your current stage of your health and fitness because you can actually realistically stick to it and commit to it and recover from it. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes AI and ChatGPT can be a great tool for brainstorming or generating new ideas, but you have to think with it. Because it's a tool, it's not your actual coach. And this is why people hire coaches, because we're not just writing programs, we're actually adjusting the volume when you're exhausted, swapping exercises around injuries, helping you navigate through travel plans, plateaus, vacations, and keeping you accountable when that motivation disappears. It can't watch your form or adjust your program based off of how your body is responding or knowing when to determine when you're burning out. Use AI to support your fitness journey, not to slowly just replace all of the thinking and customization that goes into building out your program. Number 6 on our list is simply just showing up to the gym thinking that's going to be enough. I would finish a workout and leave feeling accomplished because I checked off everything on my workout sheet, which is great because you got in and got it done. But what about holding yourself to a higher standard and truly challenging your body? If you're using the same weight for weeks and for months, feeling like you probably could have pushed 4 to 5 more reps during your workouts, then you're not giving your body enough reason to grow. Muscles grow because your body is forced to adapt to that change, which is then going to lead me to progressive overload. There are a few ways you could progressive overload outside of just increasing the weight. Maybe this is going to look like increasing the reps, adding in another set, or maybe even resting shorter to keep your heart rate up. Every workout should answer one question, and that's how can I perform a little bit better even if it's 1% better than my previous session? So maybe that's 2 more reps, adding in another set, having clean form, or simply even controlling the weight better. But something needs to be improving every time you go into a new session. Now, I'm not saying you need to finish every workout feeling super dead and feeling like you need to collapse on the floor, but you should finish most of your sets telling yourself, wow, I probably only had 1 or 2 more reps left in the tank. And that's how you know you push yourself hard. And I say this because your body doesn't truly change just because you showed up. It changes when you give it a reason to. And our 7th and last mistake is chasing a sweat for every workout. So I would get into the gym, perform my workout, then if I left feeling like I wasn't sweating enough, then I feel like I didn't have a good workout or I didn't challenge myself enough. Sweating isn't really a factor that you should be measuring to determine if you're having an effective workout. Sweating is just your body's physiological response as a way to cooling your body down. So for example, if you're sitting outside in the sun or on a hot summer day, you're not doing any type of workouts, you're gonna sweat. But are you working out hard? Are you lifting any weights? Are you actually challenging your body? No, and you're still sweating. So you can sweat because it's hot outside. You can sweat because your gym probably doesn't have good AC, or you could even start sweating more because you've had too much caffeine. None of these things automatically mean that you've burned more fat or built more muscle. Because I'm going to be honest, some of my best workouts didn't leave me dripping in sweat, but it left my muscles feeling super challenged. That's truly what I started caring about when it came to my own progress or my clients' progress, is how hard we're truly challenging our muscles in order for them to adapt. So stop chasing sweat and start chasing other factors that determine your progress. If it's one thing I want you to take away from this video, is stop judging your progress based off of the wrong things. Stop judging your workouts based off of how sweaty you got or how many calories your Apple Watch told you that you burned or even how sore you are the next day. Start measuring what actually predicts results, such as getting stronger, using progressive overload the right way, recovering better, challenging yourself, and most importantly, staying consistent long enough to see results. If you can do all of those things within the next year, your body will look completely different. So if you're ready to transform your physique through proper nutrition and proper training, I want you to click the first link down below in the description to book a one-on-one call with me. This call is just to see if I can help you. We'll talk about your fitness goals, we'll talk about your biggest struggles, and I'll help you create a plan in terms of the next steps to take. So click the first link down below in the description and we'll chat soon.